ever seen an MMA lineup so unpredictable that it feels like every matchup and every rivalry teeters on the edge of explosive chaos? That's exactly what fans are saying about the latest rumors, speculations, and official announcements swirling around the world of mixed martial arts. From longtime legends making shocking returns to rising stars pushing their way to the top, it seems like every fighter has something to prove, and they're willing to stir up any kind of drama to get noticed. The matchups are coming at us faster than anyone expected. A middleweight clash, a renewed rivalry, and a main event that promises 5 rounds of pure tension. These are only glimpses of what's brewing. There's more than just the fights themselves. Personal vendettas, surprising alliances, and even political endorsements have collided, creating a storm of controversies that could reshape the MMA landscape. Let's begin with the announcements that took everyone by surprise. On May 3rd, UFC Day Mo, as it's being called by some fans, will host a trio of fights that are already generating buzz before anyone has even stepped onto the scale. First on the list is a middleweight showdown featuring Bo Nickel, the decorated wrestler turned MMA prodigy who has done nothing but impress since he stepped into the UFC. He's facing Rainier de Ridder, the former ONE championship title holder who's been on a tear of submissions and suffocating top control. While Bo Nickel has already proven he's more than just a grappler, showing slick stand-up and outclassing opponents, de Ridder has racked up quick finishes, and many are calling him one of the most formidable submission specialists in the division. What intrigues fans is that these two fighters represent contrasting styles, yet both hold grappling credentials worthy of constant watch. Question on everyone's mind: who will seize the momentum first? Some say Bo Nickel's pace will be too much for de Ridder, while others argue that once de Ridder locks on, few can escape his clutches. Either way, the stakes are high. But that's not the only surprise on the card. Jeremy "Lil Heathen" Stevens, a name long associated with memorable wars in the octagon, has made his way back to the UFC. This move baffled fans and pundits alike because Stevens parted ways with the promotion back in 2021 and ventured into the PFL, gloved boxing, and even bare-knuckle events. His return is set against another returning figure, Mason Jones. Jones showed early promise, but took time away from the UFC after a series of setbacks. Now, both men are eager to prove they still belong among the elites, and the bout is made extra special because it's happening in Stevens' hometown. He'll be stepping in front of a crowd that remembers his highlight reel knockouts and also recalls the controversies that followed him out the door. The question is, will he capitalize on that hometown energy, or will the pressure be a burden he can't bear? One thing's certain, nobody expects a slow-paced fight when Jeremy Stevens is involved. Headlining the same event is a clash that feels like a potential passing of the torch, or a bold statement from a proven champion. Corey Sandhagen is set to face Davison Figueiredo at bantamweight in a 5-round main event. Sandhagen soared to fan-favorite status after pulling off creative finishes and dominating tough opponents, but his recent decision loss against Umar Nurmagomedov was a speed bump that ended a scorching hot streak. Meanwhile, Figueiredo, the former flyweight champ, has jumped around weight classes, hoping to recapture that aura of unstoppable power he once wielded. Yet he too tasted defeat not long ago, dropping a fight to Peter Yan. Now both men are hungry, determined, and maybe even desperate for a statement victory. 5 rounds leave no room for half measures, and if either man wants to break out of the slump, he'll need to do more than just edge out a decision. He'll need to dominate. Those battles alone would be enough to mark May 3rd on any fight fan's calendar. But the controversies in MMA never stop with just the upcoming contests. Dominic Reyes is one fighter who knows a thing or two about hype, disappointment, and climbing back from rock bottom. A few years ago, Reyes was on top of the world after nearly unseating the legendary John Jones for the light heavyweight strap. Then in a brutal turn of events, he suffered a series of stoppage losses that left many questioning if he'd ever find his confidence again. But in the past year, he sparked a resurgence with a win streak that gave fans a glimpse of the old devastator. Now, Reyes is preparing for a pivotal match with Nikita Krylov at UFC 314, another main event that could thrust him back into the title conversation if he performs decisively. What's got people talking, though, is Reyes' claim that the new crop of UFC fighters aren't giving him the respect he feels he's earned. In a candid interview, Reyes mentioned how the established veterans like Islam Makhachev and Justin Gaethje treat him like an equal, even a friend, showing genuine interest in his well-being and journey. But he feels an icy reception from the up-and-comers, who barely greet him or brush him off altogether. Why the friction? Some speculate it's because newcomers see him as a fallen star, and they're so focused on their own climb that they barely acknowledge the legacy he built. Others think Dominic's high-profile losses made him a target for fighters eager to prove that the old guard no longer matters. Whatever the reason, Reyes seems more motivated than ever to silence those doubters. In a sport where respect is earned in blood, sweat, and highlight reels, Reyes wants to show he still has plenty left to offer. Yet Dominic isn't alone in voicing his discontent with the UFC's pecking order. Another fighter who's made waves recently is Arman Tsarukyan. After Justin Gaethje scored a razor-thin decision victory over Rafael Fiziev, Gaethje wasted no time on social media, proclaiming he should be next in line for a title shot. Arman promptly fired back, pointing out that Gaethje barely scraped by the lower-ranked Fiziev, who took the fight on short notice, and that Gaethje was previously knocked out in what Arman sarcastically referred to as an exhibition fight. Tsarukyan's stance is simple. If Gaethje wants the belt, prove it against the hungry contenders, namely Arman himself. These kinds of back-and-forth challenges are standard fare in MMA, but it's especially heated here because the lightweight division is stacked beyond belief. A single misstep can drop you from title contention to the middle of the rankings. So Tsarukyan knows that if Gaethje jumps the line without proving himself against rising contenders, it'll only reinforce the notion that big names get special treatment. Gaethje's fans, of course, argue that he's earned his stripes with countless wars, highlight finishes, and impressive comebacks. Arman's supporters counter that the sport needs fresh title challengers who can bring a new look to the belt picture. It's a standstill of strong opinions, one that might only be resolved if these two step into the octagon and settle it themselves. Not every fighter's next move involves a call-out or a desire for more fame. Jalen Turner, who most recently fought at UFC 313, shocked everyone by announcing his retirement at just 29 years old. After losing via submission to Ignacio Bahamondes, Turner took a step back to reevaluate not just his career, but his life outside the cage. Although his decision stunned many fans, he's received waves of support, including from veteran and analyst Chael Sonnen. Sonnen publicly praised Turner for recognizing that being an MMA fighter doesn't always align with personal priorities, especially if your mindset and personal life demand more attention. In response, Turner posted a heartfelt video to thank Sonnen, admitting the choice to retire was difficult, but ultimately necessary for his family and his mental state. MMA can be brutal, not just physically, but emotionally, and seeing a fighter bow out in his prime is a reminder that the sport isn't only about highlight reels. Sometimes it's about preserving your well-being. Then there are moments that blur the line between MMA and mainstream politics. That's where Donald Trump enters the conversation. The president met with Irish Prime Minister Michael Martin to discuss trade, tariffs, and other formalities. During a lighthearted moment with reporters, Trump veered off into MMA, specifically praising Conor McGregor, calling him a who, which many took as comedic or confusion-laced praise, and remarking on how the Irish produce exceptionally tough fighters. He even complimented Conor's tattoos, going so far as to say they might be the best he's seen. Whether Trump's remarks were tongue-in-cheek or genuine, they highlight the growing place MMA holds in popular culture. It's not every day that a head of state chimes in on an athlete's tattoos, but for some reason, MMA finds ways to pop up in the most unexpected corners of public discourse. Meanwhile, Dillon Danis is doing his best to keep the spotlight on him too. Scheduled to box YouTuber-turned-boxer KSI in Manchester on March 29th, Danis has been working on his stand-up game, and recent sparring footage posted by none other than Alex Pereira turned heads. In the clip, Danis appears to wobble a sparring partner with a crisp punch, a hint that he might be sharper in the striking department than some might expect. But critics wonder whether training footage can be trusted. It's easy to look good in a controlled environment, and it's entirely another to replicate success under the bright lights of a live event. Still, the hype train is rolling, and it doesn't hurt that big names like Pereira are giving their stamp of approval. On social media, fans are torn between thinking Danis might actually surprise the world, or that it's all smoke and mirrors leading to another typical influencer-driven spectacle. One thing's for sure, Danis knows how to stir the pot, and that's half the battle when it comes to promoting a fight in the modern era. While Dillon Danis plots his next viral moment, Alex Pereira himself finds no shortage of controversy after his razor-close loss at UFC 313. In a fight many believed he won, at least on some scorecards, Pereira's corner was visibly frustrated when the decision was announced. Glover Teixeira, the legendary champion who mentors Pereira, and head coach Plinio Cruz both spoke out, claiming that Pereira clearly took rounds 1, 3, and 5. The official judges only agreed on the first, seeing the rest differently. MMA fans, analysts, and fellow fighters continue to debate which side had the stronger argument. To add gasoline to the fire, Pereira's ex-girlfriend, Merle Christine, leapt onto social media to celebrate the loss, calling it karma. Rumor has it, she even slid into the DMs of the victorious fighter, Magomed Ankalaev, though some say the screenshot floating around might be fake. The alleged message read something like, "Congratulations on ending the Cheire train. Karma is a beautiful thing." Ankalaev posted it to his stories, humorously offering Pereira tickets to his new show, a blatant jab at the heartbreak. Whether real or fabricated, the drama underscores how personal feuds can overshadow the raw competition. Fans are left wondering how these distractions might affect Pereira's mental game going forward, and whether a rematch will be overshadowed by behind-the-scenes drama. The line between private life and professional performance is razor-thin for fighters. Many have found that personal issues, be it relationship turmoil, outside criticism, or even feuds with teammates, can derail a fight camp and lead to subpar performances in the cage. For someone like Pereira, who soared to stardom by knocking out Israel Adesanya and then taking the top contender spot in a new division, every inch of momentum matters. If half of your energy is spent dealing with an ex on social media, that leaves less time to sharpen your takedown defense or improve your boxing footwork. Then again, maybe drama fuels some fighters, giving them extra motivation to prove everyone wrong. Time will tell how Pereira channels this storm of rumors and shade. Stepping back from the fray, you might realize just how many storylines are swirling at once. It's as though every corner of the UFC is alight with tension. New matchups that could shift the division hierarchy, veterans returning to prove they're still relevant, rising contenders demanding their piece of the spotlight, personal feuds spilling onto Instagram, and even world leaders butting in with random compliments. This unstoppable swirl of narratives ensures that fans remain glued to every press conference, social media post, and weigh-in scuffle. The line between entertainment and genuine athletic competition has always been somewhat blurred in MMA, part of the reason it remains so addictively compelling. Yet for all the talk of disrespect, grudges, and call-outs, there's also a sense that the next few months could define the legacy of numerous fighters. For example, if Bo Nickel dispatches Rainier de Ridder in dominating fashion, we might be witnessing the emergence of a new middleweight star who could, in time, challenge the division's biggest names. If Jeremy Stephens pulls off a triumphant return in his hometown, it could open doors for a swan song in the UFC, earning him the respect and recognition many feel he deserves. And if Corey Sandhagen outguns Davison Figueiredo over 5 rounds, it might restore the aura he lost after his setback to Umar Nurmagomedov. The stakes for each fight are bigger than just a number in the win-loss column. They're about careers, legacies, and the respect fighters crave. Beyond that, there are intangible rewards. Dominic Reyes stands at a crossroads. Victory could catapult him back into serious title talks, validating his claim that he still deserves respect. A loss might condemn him to the dreaded mid-tier, fighting for relevance in a crowded division. Arman Tsarukyan, too, is pushing for his moment. If the UFC matchmakers grant him a fight against Gaethje or a similarly ranked opponent, and he wins in spectacular fashion, he might leapfrog the rest of the lightweight pack. But if Gaethje continues his run of thrilling performances, fans might see the highlight, claim another shot at gold, leaving Arman to fight his way back up the ladder. Meanwhile, Jalen Turner's exit from the sport underscores a sobering reality. No matter how bright a fighter's future might look from the outside, sometimes the mental and personal toll of competition is too heavy. Retirement doesn't always mean the end of the story, though. George St. Pierre retired and came back, so did Conor McGregor, at least in an on-and-off fashion. If Turner finds peace in retirement, he might never return, or maybe he'll rediscover that fighting spirit down the line. Chael Sonnen's support highlights how crucial it is for fighters to have voices in the community, acknowledging the emotional challenges of the fight game. And then there's the swirl of hype around Dylan Dennis. Could he finally back up the endless trash talk? Some see him as a provocateur who thrives on bold claims and mind games. Others view him as a genuinely skilled grappler who, with the right training, could expand his skill set enough to shock casual viewers. The boxing match with KSY has the attention of mainstream and niche audiences alike, bridging the gap between influencer boxing and legitimate MMA circles. If Dennis looks impressive, his stock could rise exponentially, setting up more crossover events. If he gets humiliated, it might confirm the suspicions of critics who believe he's all bark and no bite. When people think of MMA, they often imagine the primal roar of the crowd, the shine of the belt around a champion's waist, and the intense standoffs at weigh-ins. But there's an entire world beneath the surface. Phone calls between managers and matchmakers, social media spats that generate headlines, personal triumphs and tragedies.
Getting taken down is when somebody keeps getting up, and that's what
rumors that can destabilize a fighter's focus. And yes, even the occasional presidential cameo praising someone's tattoos. This tapestry of stories is what makes the sport endlessly fascinating. It's also what fuels channels, podcasts, and fans to keep chasing every crumb of news, always wondering who's next to make a shocking announcement or demand a high-profile fight. All these threads, May 3rd's fights, Reyes' push for recognition, Arman Tsarukyan's challenge.
I was already entertaining the thought, retiring at the UFC 300. Took a little bit of time off,
Turner's retirement, Trump's nod to McGregor, Dylan Dennis's questionable progress, Pereira's heartbreak are about to culminate in a wave of MMA events that could shape the next year of competition. Nothing is set in stone. One upset can derail a champion's path. One injury can sideline a challenger, opening the door for another rising star. One moment of brilliance can change a fighter's narrative from has-been to unstoppable force. So if you're the type of fan who loves analyzing the sport from every angle, technical, emotional, and even political, now is the time to pay attention. The intensity of these matchups, drama swirling behind the scenes, and the personal stakes for each fighter mean that the next few months might just offer some of the most compelling storylines we've seen in a long while. Imagine the tension in the locker rooms right before these bouts. Bo Nickel pacing back and forth, replaying every drill in his head, trying to anticipate de Ridder's grappling. Jeremy Stephens cracking his knuckles, fueled by the roar of his hometown crowd, determined to prove he's still the warrior that fans remember. Corey Sandhagen walking into the main event with a laser focus, knowing that a single mistake could cost him 5 rounds of heartache. Davison Figueiredo, refusing to let the naysayers define him as washed up, pacing with that familiar fire in his eyes. And then off to the side, cameras track Dominic Reyes as he warms up, knowing he's one of many veterans in a tense atmosphere of young contenders and hungry challengers. He can almost see the new fighters giving him side-eye or offering half-hearted handshakes, fueling him to leave them speechless once he steps back into the cage. Yet, the drama doesn't end there. Somewhere across the country, Arman Tsarukyan is watching Gaethje's interviews. Waiting for the phone call that could secure him a fight that catapults him into the title conversation. Jalen Turner, perhaps at home, might be looking on from a distance, relieved not to be in the maelstrom of media obligations and punishing weight cuts. Over in Ireland, Conor McGregor might catch wind of Trump's comments and shrug them off with that trademark smirk. After all, the Irish star is no stranger to political praise or criticism. In Brazil, Dylan Dennis hits mitts with Alex Pereira, each blow echoing the question, is this all hype or is a shocker in the making? Then we have Alex Pereira himself, who might be scrolling through social media, seeing his ex's remarks or getting messages from fans telling him to ignore the drama. The line between professional and personal is never fully drawn. Perhaps he's also scheduling extra training sessions, desperate to avenge his loss and prove that the judges got it wrong. Glover Teixeira and Plinio Cruz might be fine-tuning a new strategy, confident that the next fight will be an undisputed victory. Across every division, from featherweight to heavyweight, from the men's to the women's divisions, the chessboard is being set for some of the most intriguing confrontations in recent memory. The narrative arcs are rich with potential for redemption, betrayal, and mind-blowing knockouts. For MMA addicts and casual fans alike, the question is the same. How can you possibly look away? As we edge closer to these pivotal matchups, remember that in MMA nothing is guaranteed. A fighter overlooked by the odds can dethrone a champion in 30 seconds. The legend returning from obscurity can either go out in a blaze of glory or be overshadowed by the new wave of hungry contenders. One emotional slip or personal scandal can derail an entire fight camp, while a sudden spark of motivation can transform a journeyman into a title threat overnight. That's the beauty and brutality of this sport. It's an ever-changing, ever-challenging arena where respect is not just demanded, but earned through countless hours of sacrifice, and often a willingness to put your pride on the line. Beyond the bright lights and roaring crowds, these fighters grapple with pressures, fears, aspirations, and sometimes heartbreak. For every intense moment that plays out in public, there are countless private battles waged backstage. As you weigh all the rumors, drama, and official fight announcements, keep your eyes peeled for twists that nobody saw coming. Could Jeremy Stephens reclaim the violent spark of his early UFC days? Will Bo Nickel prove unstoppable? Or can Rainier de Ritter's grappling wizardry end the hype train?
And we are underway.
Immediately, Dominic Reyes with a good knee to the...
Will Dominic Reyes recapture the swagger that nearly toppled John Jones? Can Armand Sarukian talk his way into a clash with Justin Gaethje? And if so, will he rise to the occasion or become another highlight on Gaethje's reel? And don't forget the wild cards. Jalen Turner might change his mind about retirement, Chael Sonnen might coax him back, and Dylan Dennis might step into the ring only to deliver a performance that shifts public perception. Or we might see more social media drama from Alex Pereira's circle, overshadowing the rematch talk. In the end, this is more than just a collection of fights. It's a high-stakes drama playing out in real time, a puzzle of shifting pieces that can't be fully understood until the final bell rings. And the best part is, each development only sets the stage for the next wave of must-see action. That's why, as fans, we stay glued to every piece of news, every interview, every training clip, and every whisper of potential scandal. In MMA, every new day can bring an announcement that turns the entire scene on its head. So brace yourselves. The coming months might redefine who's at the top, who's a flash in the pan, and who writes their name into the sport's history as a true legend. Rivalries may intensify, retirements might be reversed, and shocking defeats could shift the power balance. If you thought you'd seen it all, think again, because in the volatile world of MMA, the next upset or the next controversy is always just around the corner. Keep watching, keep questioning, and when the dust settles, remember these names, these rivalries, and these storylines, because they might be part of the greatest chapter in MMA's evolving saga. Few sports merge unbridled physical combat with such raw personal drama. Few can match the pace at which fortunes are won and lost. That's what makes each fight night feel like a must-see event. And that's why everyone is buzzing about Bo Nickel, Jeremy Stephens, Corey Sandhagen, Dominic Reyes, Armand Sarukian, Jalen Turner, Dylan Dennis, Alex Pereira, and all the rest. They're not just fighting for a paycheck or a spot in the rankings, they're fighting to carve out a piece of history. The question is, whose story will be remembered? It might be the comeback kid, the unknown underdog, or the seasoned champion. You'll have to tune in to find out. Because in MMA, the only guarantee is that once the cage door closes, anything can happen. And that's the intrigue pulling us all in, ready to click, watch, and stay glued to the screen from the very first second until the final bell.